The morning sun rose over Earth like it had done for billions of years. People went to work. Children walked to school. Lovers held hands in parks. Nobody knew that in a few hours, everything would change forever. Myra Vance stood alone in a quiet cemetery in Norway. The cold wind touched her face, but she did not feel it. She was looking at a small gravestone. It belonged to her daughter, Elena, who had died from sickness 2 years ago. Elena was only 12 years old. Myra was a general in Earth's military. She commanded the Orbital Defense Corps, the soldiers who protected Earth from space. But today, she was not a general. Today, she was just a mother who missed her child. "I brought your favorite flowers," Myra whispered to the grave. "The purple ones you always loved." She placed the flowers gently on the ground. Then she heard something strange. A low sound, like thunder, but the sky was clear. She looked up. What she saw made her blood turn cold. Thousands of ships filled the sky. They were huge, dark, and shaped like nothing humans had ever built. They blocked out the sun itself. For a moment, Myra could not move. She could not think. She could only stare. Then the ships opened fire. Beams of bright plasma shot down from the sky. They hit the cities first. Oslo, just 50 kilometers away, disappeared in a flash of white light. The ground shook so hard that Myra fell to her knees. The sound was like the world itself was screaming. Myra's military training took over. She pulled out her communication device and tried to contact Geneva Command, the headquarters of Earth's defense. Static. She tried again. Nothing. Geneva was gone. She ran to higher ground and watched in horror. Across the horizon, she could see pillars of fire rising into the sky. City after city was burning. The alien ships moved with terrible purpose, destroying everything below them. Earth had a space fleet. It was new and small, but it was something. Myra saw her ships rising to fight. They were brave. They were determined. They lasted less than 10 minutes. The alien weapons cut through human ships like a knife through paper. Explosions lit up the sky as Earth's defenders died. Myra fell to her knees. Tears ran down her face. Not from fear, from rage, from helplessness. She was a general, and she could do nothing but watch her world burn. The attack lasted 7 days. The aliens were called the Kethvoran. Humans would learn this name later. The Kethvoran Empire controlled 12,000 star systems. They had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. Their way was simple: find young civilizations and destroy them before they could grow strong. Earth was just another target. Another problem to clean up. Another species to erase. When the bombardment finally stopped, 4 billion humans were dead. Half of all people on Earth. Cities were craters. Forests were ash. Oceans boiled near the impact zones. The survivors crawled out of bunkers and basements, into a world that looked like hell. The Kethvoran did not bother to finish the job. They left a small fleet of 50 ships to watch the planet. To them, humanity was already dead. A few survivors did not matter. Insects do not matter. You do not hunt every ant after you step on their hill. This was their first mistake. Myra walked for 3 days to reach the nearest military bunker. She had no food and little water. Her uniform was torn and covered in ash. But her eyes burned with something that kept her moving. Something that would not let her stop. When she finally reached the bunker, she found 200 survivors. Soldiers, scientists, engineers. They were scared. They were broken. They had lost everything and everyone they loved. They looked at Myra like lost children looking for a parent. She stood before them in the dim light of the underground bunker. The air smelled like smoke and fear. For a long moment, she said nothing. She just looked at their faces, one by one. "I know what you're feeling," she finally said. Her voice was rough from thirst, but it carried strength. "I feel it too. We lost our homes. We lost our families. We lost our world." She paused and let the words sink in. "The aliens think we're finished. They left a small fleet and went home to celebrate. To them, we are nothing. Insects, vermin, something to step on and forget." Her hands became fists at her sides. "They made a mistake. A terrible mistake. They didn't kill all of us. They left survivors. They left people with nothing to lose and everything to remember." She looked up, and her eyes were like cold fire. "I'm not going to tell you we'll have an easy road. I'm not going to promise you that we'll all survive. But I am going to tell you this. We are not going to hide in this hole and wait to die. We are not going to accept what they did to us." Her voice rose, filling the bunker. "They think we're dead. Good. Dead things don't fight back. Dead things don't plan. Dead things don't build. But we are not dead. We are very, very angry." She stepped closer to them, her presence commanding every eye in the room. "I remember every ship they destroyed. I remember every city they burned. I remember the screams I heard on the radio before the signals went silent. And I promise you, I will remember until my last breath. We all will. They attacked Earth first. They started this war. Now we're going to finish it. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day we will find them. We will make them pay for every life they took. We will make them know fear." The room was silent. Then one soldier stood up. Then another. Then all of them. They did not cheer. They did not shout. They simply stood at attention, their broken spirits slowly rebuilding around a single burning purpose. Mira nodded at them. "From this moment, we are no longer victims. We are the survivors. We are the ones who will carry the memory of the fallen. We are the ones who will make the Kethvoran Empire regret the day they ever looked at our little blue planet." She turned toward a dusty map on the wall showing Earth's surface. "Now, let's get to work. We have a lot to do, and we have a very long way to go." Outside the bunker, the alien ships circled Earth like vultures over a corpse. They did not know that deep underground, a fire was starting. A small spark that would one day become an inferno. The Kethvaran had come to kill humanity. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous. A species with nothing left to lose and a debt of 4 billion souls to collect. General Myra. Vance looked at her reflection in a dark screen. Her hair had turned white in the past week from the stress and grief. Her eyes had changed too. They were harder now, colder, full of patient, burning hatred. She touched the dog tags around her neck. They belonged to her daughter. "I'll make them pay, Elena," she whispered. "Every single one." And in the darkness of the bunker, surrounded by the last of Earth's defenders, the longest war in human history began. 5 years passed since the sky burned. Earth had changed. The great cities were gone, replaced by craters and twisted metal. But life continued. 800 million humans survived, scattered across the planet like seeds waiting to grow. They lived underground in caves, in hidden valleys where the alien ships could not see them. And they were not just surviving. They were preparing. General Myra Vance stood in a massive underground factory. The sound of machines filled the air. Sparks flew as workers built weapons and vehicles. This was one of 20 secret bases hidden beneath the Earth's surface. The aliens above had no idea they existed. "Report," Myra said to the young officer beside her. "Production is ahead of schedule, General. We've completed 50 more ground vehicles and 200 assault rifles this month. The farming sections are producing enough food for all bases." Myra nodded. It was not enough. It would never be enough to fight the alien fleet directly. But it was a start. The first year after the attack was the hardest. People were dying from hunger, disease, and despair. Many wanted to give up. Some did. But Myra refused to let humanity fade away. She organized the survivors into groups. She set up communication networks using old radio equipment. She gave people jobs and purpose. If we stop moving, we die, she told them. If we keep working, we have a chance. In the second year, something changed everything. A patrol team found a crashed alien ship in the mountains of what used to be Switzerland. The ship was damaged but mostly complete. The alien crew was dead. For the first time, humans could study Kethvoran technology up close. Dr. Yuki Tanaka was a scientist who had survived the attack by hiding in a university basement. Before the invasion, she studied physics. Now, she studied aliens. Myra brought her to examine the crashed ship. YUK. I spent 3 months inside that ship. She barely ate. She barely slept. She took apart every system, every wire, every strange device. And slowly, she began to understand. Their technology is advanced, Yuki told Myra one evening. But it's old. Very old. They haven't invented anything new in thousands of years. They just keep using the same designs over and over. Why? Myra asked. Because they never needed to improve. They've been the strongest power in the galaxy for so long that they stopped trying. They got lazy. Myra smiled for the first time in months. Can we copy their technology? Copy it? Yuki's eyes sparkled with excitement. General, I think we can make it better. This was the beginning of humanity's secret weapon, innovation. The Kethvoran had better technology, but humans had something they had lost long ago. Humans could create. Humans could improve. Humans could adapt. By the third year, human engineers had built their first working plasma rifle using alien technology. It was rough and ugly, but it worked. Myra test-fired it herself. The beam of energy burned a hole through 3 meters of solid rock. Build more, she ordered. Build as many as you can. But weapons were not enough. They needed ships. They needed to get off the planet and take the fight to the enemy. This problem seemed impossible, until a risky mission changed. Everything. Myra planned an ambush on an alien patrol ship that flew low over the old Pacific Ocean every week. It was dangerous. Many soldiers would die. But if they succeeded, they would capture a working alien spacecraft. The battle was brutal. 200 human soldiers attacked the patrol ship using stolen weapons and homemade explosives. 140 of them died. But they brought the ship down into the ocean. And they captured one alien alive. The prisoner was called Vethkar. He was a low-ranking soldier, young by Kethvoran standards. At first, he refused to talk. He looked at humans with disgust, like they were dirty animals. You are insects, he said through the translation device Yuki had built. The Empire will crush you. Myra sat across from him in the dark interrogation room. She said nothing. She just waited. Days passed. Vethkar grew hungry. He grew tired. And slowly, he began to talk. What he revealed shocked everyone. The Empire does not remember you, Vethkar said one night. Your world is so small, so unimportant, that the attack was never reported to the core worlds. The High Archon does not even know your species name. Myra leaned forward. What do you mean? Earth was a local matter. A cleaning job for a regional fleet. The occupation force sends no reports because there is nothing to report. A dead world. Insects in the dirt. Why would the Empire care? For a moment, Myra could not speak. 4 billion humans dead, and the Empire did not even remember doing it. They were so unimportant that nobody bothered to write it down. Most people would feel despair at this news. Myra felt something different. She felt opportunity. They don't know about us, she said to her commanders later. They don't know we survived. They don't know we're building an army. We are invisible. The fourth year brought the biggest breakthrough. Yuki and her team finished building humanity's first faster-than-light engine. It was based on alien designs, but improved with human ideas. It was smaller, faster, and used less energy than anything the Kethvoran had. We call it the jump drive, Yuki announced proudly. It can take a ship across star systems in hours instead of days. They installed it in a small ship built from alien parts and human engineering. They named it the Revenant. A Revenant is a ghost that comes back from the dead. It seemed like the perfect name. The fifth year was the year of revenge. Myra developed what she called the Reckoning Doctrine. It was simple but absolute. Humanity would not negotiate with the Empire. Humanity would not ask for peace. Humanity would make the Kethvoran pay for every single life they took. 4 billion dead, Myra said to her inner circle. That means 4 billion debts. We will collect everyone. Some people called this plan insane. The Empire had thousands of ships. Humanity had a handful. The numbers were impossible. Myra did not care about numbers. They expect enemies who fight fair, she explained. They expect enemies who want to survive. We are different. We have already lost everything. We have nothing left to fear. That makes us the most dangerous thing in this galaxy. On the anniversary of the attack, 5 years to the day, Myra launched Operation Silent Thunder. Every alien ship in orbit around Earth was destroyed in a coordinated attack that lasted exactly 17 minutes. Human soldiers boarded the command vessel and killed every alien on board. No distress signal escaped. No warning was sent. The occupation of Earth was over. Myra stood on the bridge of the captured alien flagship and looked down at the scarred planet below. Earth was still wounded, still healing, but it was free. This is just the beginning, she said quietly. Behind her, hundreds of soldiers worked to prepare the ship for its new purpose. Around the planet, more captured ships were being repaired and modified. In hidden bases, thousands of volunteers were training to become the first generation of human space soldiers. The Kethvoran Empire still did not know what was coming. They would learn soon enough. General Myra Vance pulled out a small data chip from her pocket. It contained the names of every human who died in the attack. All 4 billion of them. She looked at it for a long moment. We're coming for them, she whispered to the dead. I promise. We're coming. The war for Earth was over. The war against the Empire was about to begin. And humanity, forged in fire and hardened by loss, was ready to show the galaxy what happened when you attacked the wrong planet dot in the darkness of space. The Revenant powered up its engines and disappeared in a flash of light. The hunt had begun. The stars stretched out like an endless ocean of light. Captain James Torres stood on the bridge of the Revenant and watched them pass by at impossible speeds. 6 months ago, he had never left Earth. Now he was traveling between solar systems. Approaching target coordinates, the navigator announced. 3 minutes to exit jump. Torres nodded and opened the communication channel. General Vance, we're almost there. Myra's voice came through clearly from her position in the command center, hidden in Earth's asteroid belt. Understood, Captain. Remember your mission. Observe only. Do not engage unless necessary. Yes, General. The Revenant dropped out of jump space near a planet called Thesser Prime. It was a beautiful world, covered in purple forests and silver oceans. But something was wrong. Huge scars marked the surface. Cities lay in ruins. Massive mining machines crawled across the land, tearing it apart. My God, Torres whispered that according to the information they had gathered, the Thesari people had lived on this world for 20,000 years. Then the Kethvoran Empire arrived. Now the Thesari were slaves, forced to mine their own planet until nothing remained. "I'm detecting a prison camp on the northern continent," the sensor officer reported. "Over 50,000 life signs." Torres watched the screen with clenched fists. The Thesari looked somewhat like tall, thin humans with blue-gray skin and large, dark eyes. In the images from their probes, he could see them working in chains, beaten by alien guards. "We have to help them," Torres said. "Our orders are to observe," his first officer reminded him. "I know our orders." Torres was quiet for a long moment. Then he made a decision. "Open a secure channel to General Vance. Priority 1. When Myra heard his report, she was silent for several seconds. Then she asked a simple question. "Can you free them without being detected?" Torres looked at his tactical officer, who nodded slowly. "Yes, General. I believe we can." "Then do it." "But Torres, if you fail, if you alert the Empire to our existence before we're ready, everything we've worked for dies with you. Understand?" "I understand, General." "We won't fail." The raid on Desser Prime became legendary. The Revenant descended through the atmosphere, using technology that made it invisible to sensors. Torres and 50 soldiers landed near the prison camp at midnight. They moved like shadows, using human tactics that the Kethvoran guards had never seen before. The guards died without making a sound. The prison gates opened, and 50,000 Thesari walked free for the first time in generations. An old Thesari woman approached Torres as he stood at the gate. She was thin and weak, but her eyes held a light that slavery had not killed. "Who are you?" she asked through the translation device. "We're humans," Torres said. "We're from a planet called Earth." The woman's eyes went wide. "Earth? The dead world?" "Not so dead," Torres replied with a small smile. "Not anymore." Word spread quickly among the freed Thesari. The story seemed impossible. A species that the Empire had tried to destroy was not only alive but fighting back. A species was actually winning against the Kethvoran. A young Thesari soldier named Vexari approached Torres before they left. She was tall and fierce, with scars on her arms from years of fighting back against her captors. "Take me with you," she said. "I want to fight." Torres looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Welcome to the war." Vexari was the first, but she was not the last. Over the next 3 years, humanity made contact with dozens of enslaved species. The Maradi, whose homeworld had been turned into a factory planet. The Kel, whose people were bred as soldiers for the Empire. The Vorn, once great scientists, now forced to build weapons for their masters. Each species had been broken by the Empire. Each had lost hope. But when they heard about the humans, something changed. The impossible was happening. Someone was fighting back. General Myra Vance traveled between allied worlds on the flagship Humanity's Memory. It was a massive ship built in secret in the asteroid belt, 10 times larger than the Revenant. Its hull was made from alien metal, but designed by human engineers. It was faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the Empire had. "How many ships do we have now?" Mira asked during a strategy meeting. Commander Vexari, now one of her most trusted officers, checked the reports. 500 combat vessels, General. 300 are human-built. The rest come from allied species. We also have 200 support ships and thousands of small fighters. And soldiers? 2 million across all species. Humans, Thesari, Maradi, Kel, and others. All trained, all ready. Myra nodded slowly. It was still a small force compared to the Empire's endless fleets. But it was something. It was real. "What about the Empire?" she asked. "What do they know?" "They know something is wrong," Vexari said. "Their patrol ships keep disappearing. Their outer colonies are going silent. They think it's pirates or internal rebellion." "Do they know about us?" About humans? Vexari smiled, showing sharp teeth. No, General. They still think Earth is dead. They call us the Ghosts. The Ghosts. Mira liked that name. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Empire, Admiral Desic stared at reports that made no sense. 50 ships missing in 2 years. 3 colony worlds had stopped sending messages. Mining operations on a dozen planets had been sabotaged. This is not pirates, Desic said to the empty room. He was old for a Kethvoran with gray scales and tired eyes. But his mind was still sharp. This is organized. This is planned. He brought his concerns to High Archon Kethver 12, the supreme ruler of the Empire. The Archon sat on a throne made from the bones of conquered species. He looked at Desic with bored eyes. You worry too much, Admiral, the Archon said. We have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. Who could possibly threaten us? I don't know, my lord. That's what concerns me. An enemy we cannot see is more dangerous than one we can. The Archon waved his hand dismissively. Double the patrols in the outer regions. Kill whoever is causing trouble. This meeting is over. Desic bowed and left, but he was not satisfied. Something was coming. He could feel it. Something the Empire had never faced before. He was right in the darkness beyond the Empire's borders. General Myra Vance stood on the bridge of humanity's memory. Around her, 500 ships waited in formation. Human vessels flew alongside the Sari cruisers and Marathi destroyers. Different species, different worlds, but united by a single purpose. Myra looked at the stars ahead. Beyond them lay the core worlds of the Kethvoran Empire, the heart of the enemy, the place where the orders to destroy Earth had been given. All ships report ready, General, the communications officer said. Mira touched the data chip in her pocket. 4 billion names. 4 billion reasons to fight. Send the message to all ships, she said quietly. Tell them the hunt begins now. Yes, General. What should the message say? Mira's eyes were cold and bright, like stars made of ice. Tell them, we are the ghosts of Earth. We are the voice of the dead. We remember what was done to us, and we have come to collect what is owed. Today, the Empire learns fear. The message went out across the fleet. In every ship, on every deck, soldiers of a dozen species heard the words and felt something rise in their hearts. Hope, purpose, rage. The fleet moved forward as one, jumping into enemy space. The largest war in galactic history had begun, and humanity was leading the charge. Behind them, Earth spun slowly in the darkness, healing and waiting. Ahead of them, an empire that had never known defeat was about to meet an enemy it had created through its own cruelty. The ghosts were coming, and they would not stop until the debt was paid. The first Kethvoran world fell in 3 days. It was a military outpost called Veth Prime, home to 200,000 soldiers and a fleet of 100 ships. The Empire considered it untouchable. They were wrong. General Myra Vance led the attack herself from the bridge of humanity's memory. Human ships appeared from nowhere, using stealth technology the Kethvoran had never imagined possible. Before the enemy could react, half their fleet was burning. The ground battle was even faster. Human soldiers, fighting alongside the Sari warriors and Marathi shock troops, swept through the military bases like fire through dry grass. The Kethvoran were strong and proud, but they had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that attacked from shadows. An enemy that adapted to every defense. An enemy that would not stop. When it was over, Myra broadcast a message to the surviving Kethvoran soldiers. We are not here to kill civilians, she said. We are not here to enslave your people. We are not like you. But every military target, every weapon, every ship that threatens us will be destroyed. Surrender, and you will live. Fight, and you will die. The choice is yours. Many surrendered. Those who fought died quickly. News of Veth Prime's fall spread through the Empire like a disease. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Kethvorin had lost a world to an enemy. And nobody knew who the enemy was. Admiral Desic knew. He had studied the reports. He had analyzed the tactics. And he had finally found the answer. Humans, he told the War Council. The enemy is human. The other admirals laughed. Humans? From the dead world? That's impossible. I thought so too, Desic said calmly. But the evidence is clear. Their ships use improved versions of our technology. Their tactics match nothing in our records except old Earth military history. They call themselves the Ghosts of Earth. They are very much alive, and they are very angry. High Archon Cathver did not laugh. For the first time in years, he looked worried. How many of them are there? He demanded. We don't know, my lord. Hundreds of ships at least. Perhaps thousands. They have allied with our slave species. The Vizari, the Murati, the Kel, others. A coalition is forming against us. Then crush them. The Archon screamed. Send every fleet we have. Burn their ships. Destroy them all. Desic bowed his head. Yes, my lord. But I suggest a different approach. What approach? A trap. Let them come to us. Let them think they are winning. Then crush them with overwhelming force at a location of our choosing. The Archon considered this. Then he smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Very well, Admiral. You have command of the war. Do not fail me. Desic did not plan to fail. Over the next year, the war raged across 100 star systems. The human coalition struck fast and disappeared before the Empire could respond. Colony worlds were liberated. Slave populations were freed. Fleet after fleet was destroyed in ambush and surprise attacks. But Desic was patient. He let them win their small victories. He studied their tactics. He learned their patterns. And slowly, he prepared his trap. The place he chose was the Nexus of Kethver, the sacred heart of the Empire. The homeworld itself, surrounded by the largest fleet ever assembled. 2,000 warships. Millions of soldiers. Weapons that could crack planets. They will come, Desic told his officers. They cannot resist. And when they do, we will end them. Myra Vance knew it was a trap. Her intelligence officers had warned her. Her eyes had advised caution. But she also knew something else. This war would not end until the Empire's heart was broken. If we run from this fight, we lose everything, she told her commanders. The Alliance falls apart. The freed species lose hope. The Empire learns it can still scare us. We have to take this risk. Commander Vexari nodded slowly. Then we walk into their trap. No, Myra said with a cold smile. We spring their trap and set one of our own. The Battle of Kethver Prime began on a day the Empire would never forget. The human coalition fleet jumped into the system exactly where Desic expected. 500 ships against 2,000. The Kethvorin admiral smiled when he saw the numbers. Finally, the insects had made a mistake. All ships engage, Desic commanded. Surround them. Leave no escape. The Empire's fleet moved like a giant mouth closing on its prey. Desic watched with satisfaction as his ships formed a perfect sphere around the human coalition. There was nowhere to run. General Vance, he broadcast on an open channel. I know you can hear me. You fought well for insects. But this is where your war ends. Surrender now, and I will give your people a quick death. Resist, and I will make your suffering last for centuries. Myra's response was calm. Admiral Desic, thank you for gathering all your ships in one place. It saves us the trouble of hunting them down. Before Thesic could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. Behind his fleet, 300 more ships appeared. Human ships. Allied ships. A second fleet that had been hiding in deep space, waiting for this moment. The trap had been reversed. All ships, Myra commanded. Attack. The battle that followed was the largest in galactic history. Thousands of ships filled the space around Kethver Prime. Plasma beams crossed like deadly lightning. Explosions lit up the darkness. Ships rammed each other and died together. Myra stood on her bridge, giving orders with cold precision. Her fleet was still outnumbered, but human tactics proved superior. While Kethvoran ships fought in rigid formations, human vessels moved like wolves, attacking weak points and retreating before the enemy could respond. Thesic fought back with everything he had. He was a brilliant commander, the best the Empire had. His ships killed hundreds of coalition vessels. But for every ship he destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Hours passed. The battle reached its peak. Both sides had lost over half their ships. The space around Kethver Prime was filled with burning wreckage and floating bodies. Then Mira saw her chance. Thesic's flagship was damaged and alone. Most of its escort had been destroyed. The Admiral was still fighting, still commanding, but he was vulnerable. All ships near my position, Myra ordered. Focus fire on the enemy flagship. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. I want the Admiral alive. 12 coalition ships turned their weapons on Thesic's vessel. The mighty flagship's shields collapsed under the concentrated fire. Its weapons went silent. Its engines died. Admiral Thesic stood on his ruined bridge surrounded by dead officers. Smoke filled the air. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Through the broken windows, you could see human boarding pods approaching. For the first time in his long life, Thesic felt something he had never experienced. He felt defeat. The doors exploded inward. Human soldiers poured onto the bridge, weapons raised. Behind them walked a woman with white hair and eyes like frozen stars. General Myra Vance stepped over the bodies and stood before the defeated admiral. "Admiral Thesic," she said, "your fleet is destroyed. Your trap failed. The battle is over." Thesic straightened his back, trying to maintain his dignity. "You have won today, human. But the Empire will never fall. We have ruled for 50,000 years. Myra shook her head slowly. "Your rule ended the day you attacked Earth. You just didn't know it yet." She turned to look out at the battle's aftermath. Hundreds of Empire ships were surrendering. Others were running. The mighty Kethvoran war machine had broken, and below them, the homeworld of the Empire waited in terror. Billions of Kethvoran looked up at the sky and saw the burning remains of their fleet. They saw human ships moving into position above their cities. They saw the end of everything they knew. Myra felt nothing like victory. She felt tired. She felt old. She felt the weight of 4 billion names pressing on her heart. "Take the Admiral to the holding cells," she ordered. "Treat him with respect. He fought well." As the soldiers led Thesic away, Myra moved to the communications panel. She opened a channel to the Imperial Palace below. "High Archon Kethver 12, she said. "This is General Myra Vance of the Human Coalition. Your fleet is destroyed. Your admiral is captured. Your homeworld is surrounded." She paused and let the words sink in. "I think it's time we had a conversation." Far below on the planet's surface, in a palace built from the bones of conquered peoples, the most powerful being in the galaxy listened to a human woman's voice and learned what fear truly meant. The war was almost over, but the hardest part was yet to come. The Imperial Palace was the largest building General Myra Vance had ever seen. Its towers reached toward the sky like the fingers of a giant. Its walls were made of dark stone that seemed to absorb light. Everything about it was designed to make visitors feel small and weak. Myra did not feel small. She did not feel weak. She walked through the massive doors with 20 soldiers behind her, her boots echoing on the ancient floor. After everything she had survived, after everything she had lost and won, a building could not scare her. The throne room waited at the end of a long hallway lined with statues of past emperors. Each statue showed a Keth-born ruler standing over the bodies of defeated enemies. Hundreds of species, crushed and forgotten. A history of conquest carved in stone. Myra stopped before the last empty space, where a new statue would someday stand. Not anymore, she said quietly. The doors to the throne room opened. High Archon, Kepher 12, sat on his throne at the far end of the chamber. The throne was made from bones, thousands of bones from 100 different species. The Archon himself was tall and thin, with scales the color of dried blood and eyes that held no warmth. Around him stood the remaining leaders of the empire. Generals who had lost their fleets. Ministers who had lost their power. All of them looked at Mira with hatred and fear. The Archon did not stand as she approached. He did not bow. Even now, with his empire burning, he could not show respect to what he considered a lesser being. So, he said, his voice deep and cold, "This is the famous human general. The insect who thinks she has won." Myra stopped 10 meters from the throne. Her soldiers spread out behind her, weapons ready but not raised. She looked at the Archon with calm eyes. "I didn't come here to exchange insults," she said. "I came here to end this war." "End it?" The Archon laughed, a harsh and ugly sound. "You have won a battle, human. Nothing more. The Empire has 1,000 worlds, millions of ships, billions of soldiers. You cannot destroy us. I don't want to destroy you. I want justice." The Archon leaned forward on his throne. "Justice? What do you know of justice? We are the masters of this galaxy. We have ruled for 50,000 years. We decide what is just and what is not." Myra did not raise her voice. She did not need to. 14 years ago, you sent ships to a small planet called Earth. You bombed our cities without warning. You killed 4 billion people. Men, women, children. You murdered them because you were afraid of what we might become someday. "We were protecting the galaxy," the Archon said. "Young species are dangerous. They must be controlled before they grow too strong." "You were protecting your power," Myra replied. "You were afraid that one day someone might challenge your rule. So you killed us before we had a chance. Or you tried to." She took a step closer. The guards around the throne tensed, but the Archon waved them back. He was curious now, despite himself. "You thought we were insects," Myra continued. "Vermin, a problem to be cleaned up and forgotten. You didn't even bother to record our name. You didn't think we mattered enough to remember." "You did not matter," the Archon said. "You were nothing." Myra's eyes hardened. "We are not nothing now. Now your fleet is ash. Your admiral is my prisoner. Your slave species are free. Your empire is falling apart." She paused. "And you are sitting on your throne made of bones, talking to the insect you tried to step on." For the first time, the Archon's confidence seemed to shake. He looked at the human woman before him and finally understood that the world had changed forever. "What do you want?" he asked. "I want you to listen." Mira reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. She held it up so the Archon could see it. "This chip contains names. 4 billion names. Every human who died in your attack on Earth. I have carried it with me every day for 14 years. I look at it every night before I sleep." She placed the chip on the ground between them. Each one of those names was a person. They had hopes and dreams. They had families who loved them. They had whole lives ahead of them. And you took all of that away because you were scared. The Archon said nothing. For once, he had no answer. You attacked Earth first, Mira said, and her voice was quiet now, almost gentle. You started this war. You killed our people. You burned our world. And now humanity is coming for you. We came across the stars. We freed your slaves. We destroyed your fleets. We did things you thought were impossible. Because that is what humans do. We survive. We adapt. We remember. She stepped forward until she was close enough to touch the throne of bones. I could kill you right now. My soldiers could burn this palace to the ground. We could do to your homeworld what you did to Earth. 4 billion dead for 4 billion dead. An eye for an eye until the whole galaxy is blind. The Archon flinched, expecting death. But I won't, Myra said, because that would make us like you. And we are not like you. She turned to face the gathered leaders of the Empire. Here is what will happen. The Kefvoran Empire is over. Your slave species are free and will govern themselves. Your military will be dismantled. Your leaders will face trial before the galactic community for crimes against countless species. You cannot do this. One of the generals shouted. We are the rulers of... You were the rulers. Myra cut him off. Now you are war criminals. You will face justice. Not our justice. Not human revenge. Proper justice decided by all the species you hurt. She looked back at the Archon. You will not be executed. That would be too quick, too easy. You will be sentenced to serve the people you enslaved. You will spend the rest of your long life helping to rebuild what you destroyed. You will see freedom spread across the galaxy. And every day, you will remember that you lost everything because you underestimated a species you called insects. The Archon's scales turned pale. This was worse than death. This was humiliation. This was watching everything he believed in crumble away. You cannot do this, he whispered. I already have. Myra turned and walked toward the door. Then she stopped and looked back one last time. Remember this moment. Tell the story to your children and grandchildren. Tell them what happened when the mighty Kefvoran Empire attacked a small blue planet called Earth. Tell them how the insects rose up. Tell them how the ghosts came back. And tell them this. Her voice rang through the throne room like a bell. We remembered every name. And we always will. She walked out of the palace into the light of an alien sun. 50 years later, an old woman walked through a green park on Earth. The planet had healed. Trees grew tall where craters once scarred the land. Cities rose again, different from before, but beautiful in their own way. Children played in fields that had once been battlegrounds. A great memorial stood in the center of the park. It was a wall of white stone, stretching for kilometers. On its surface, 4 billion names were carved in letters, small enough that it would take a lifetime to read them all. Mira Vance stopped before the memorial. Her white hair was thin now, and she walked with a cane. But her eyes still held the same fire they had carried for 60 years. She touched one name on the wall. Elena Vance, her daughter. I kept my promise, she whispered. We remembered. We always will. A small child ran up to her, curious about the old woman standing alone. Who are you? The child asked. Myra smiled softly. Just someone who remembers. The child's mother hurried over, embarrassed. I'm so sorry. She bothers everyone. It's fine, Mira said. She bent down to look at the little girl. Do you know what this memorial is for? The girl nodded seriously. It's for the people who died. A long time ago. Before the aliens became our friends. That's right. And do you know why we keep their names here? The girl thought hard. So we don't forget them? Mira touched the girl's cheek gently. Exactly. We keep their names so they're never forgotten. So their lives meant something. So the universe knows that every single one of them mattered. She straightened up and looked at the sky. Ships passed overhead. Human ships, Dasari ships, Moradi ships, all flying together through skies that were no longer filled with fear. The galaxy had changed. The coalition of free species now worked together to protect the weak and welcome the young. The Kethvoran served their sentences on worlds they had once enslaved, learning humility for the first time in their long history. And Earth, small and blue and beautiful, had become a symbol for every species that had ever been told they were too weak to matter. Myra looked at the memorial one last time. 4 billion names. 4 billion stars that still shone in the hearts of those who remembered them. We did it, she said to the wind. We survived. We won. And we didn't lose ourselves along the way. She walked slowly out of the park, past families enjoying the sunshine, past children who would grow up in a galaxy where hope was stronger than fear. Behind her, the memorial stood in silence, guarding the names of the fallen. And somewhere in the great quiet of space, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter. The story of humanity was far from over. New adventures waited among the stars. New challenges would test them in years to come, but they would face whatever came together. Human and alien, friend and former enemy, united by the memory of what they had overcome, and they would never, ever forget. The end.